I checked my phone for the fourth time in less than a minute. No new messages. No missed calls. Just Ethan's last text sitting there like it had nothing to answer for. Stuck at work. Don't wait up. I read it again. Then again. Like maybe the words would rearrange themselves into something that made more sense. Don't wait up. On our anniversary. Are you ready to order? I looked up. The waiter was still standing there, polite smile locked in place, pen hovering over his little notepad like my answer actually mattered. Yeah. Sorry. I forced a smile. Can I get another 10 minutes? Of course. He walked away. I exhaled slowly, staring at the empty chair across from me. Ethan was supposed to be sitting there. He was supposed to be late, maybe 5, 10 minutes. That was normal. That was him. Running behind, apologizing with that crooked half smile that somehow always worked. But not like this. Not a text. Not that text. I picked up my phone again. My thumb hovered over his name. Call him. Just call him. No. Don't be that wife. I locked the screen. Unlocked it again almost immediately. God, this is ridiculous. I opened our messages. Scrolled up. There it was, this morning. Happy anniversary, Soph. Dinner at 7. Don't be late this time, winking smiley. I actually laughed out loud earlier when I read that. He was the one who was always late. I stared at the blinking cursor in the text box. Are you seriously working? Too accusatory. Everything okay? Too soft. I deleted both. Locked the phone again. My eyes drifted to the glass of wine in front of me. I hadn't touched it. The condensation had started to pool under the stem, a thin ring spreading across the white tablecloth. I hated that detail for some reason. Like time was leaving marks. Okay, I muttered under my breath. Enough. I unlocked my phone again, this time not for messages. For the app. Find My. I hesitated. We turned on location sharing a year ago. It wasn't even a big deal. More like, convenience, Ethan had said. Accountability, I had joked. Neither of us had anything to hide. Right, my thumb hovered over his name. Ethan Carter. I tapped it. The map loaded. For a second, nothing registered. Just streets, little grey lines, the slow pulsing blue of my own location at the restaurant. Then his appeared. A small green dot. West Side. I frowned. That's not. I leaned closer to the screen. His office wasn't there. Not even close. I zoomed in. The dot stayed perfectly still. No movement. No drift. Just, sitting there. I zoomed in more. Street names popped up. Then the building label appeared. I read it once. Didn't process it. Read it again. Westfield Suites. I felt something cold settle in my chest. No, I whispered. That didn't make sense. Maybe it was a glitch. Yeah. That had to be it. GPS lag. Wrong signal. Happens all the time. I tapped the screen again like that would fix it. The dot didn't move. I pressed my lips together, my heartbeat picking up just enough to be noticeable. Okay. Call him. Now. I hit the call button before I could overthink it. It rang once. Twice. 3 times. Hey. His voice. Normal. Too normal. Hey, I said, and immediately hated how steady I sounded. Are you still at the office? Yeah. No hesitation. Why? My eyes locked on the map. On the dot. On the name. Westfield Suites. I swallowed. No reason. Just, checking. A pause. Everything okay? He asked. That question. That exact tone. Like I was the one being weird. Yeah, I said quickly. Yeah, I thought you said you might be heading out soon. I wish, he said, letting out a short laugh. I'm buried here, Soph. Probably gonna be a late one. I stared at the screen so hard it started to blur. You're at the office? I asked again, slower this time. Another pause. Shorter. Yeah, he repeated. Why are you asking like that? Because you're not. Because I can see exactly where you are. Because you're lying. I pressed my nails into my palm under the table. Just making sure, I said. That's all. You okay? He asked again, softer this time. I almost laughed. I'm fine. Silence stretched between us. Then, hey, I'm really sorry about tonight, he said. Rain check? I'll make it up to you this weekend. This weekend. Like tonight didn't matter. Like tonight wasn't. Sure, I said. The word came out before I could stop it. Okay, he said. I'll call you later, yeah. Love you. There it was. The line. The habit. The thing that was supposed to mean something. I closed my eyes. Love you too. I hung up. The second the call ended, the silence around me felt louder. He didn't hesitate. Not really. Not enough. I looked down at the map again. The dot hadn't moved. Not even a little. I let out a slow breath and leaned back in my chair. Okay, I said quietly. Think. Maybe it was a meeting. Yeah. That made sense. Hotels had conference rooms. Clients. Business stuff. That had to be it. Except, why lie? Why not just say that? Because it's easier, a voice in my head said. I shook it off. No. Don't do this. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't become that paranoid. The dot pulsed again. Still there. Still unmoving. Still at the hotel. I grabbed my purse. Too fast. The chair legs scraped loudly against the floor. A couple at the next table glanced over. I forced a tight smile I didn't feel, already pulling out my card. The waiter reappeared like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. Everything okay? Yeah, I said, handing him the card. Something came up. I need to go. Of course. I barely heard him. My eyes kept flicking back to the phone in my other hand. To the map. To that damn dot. Still there. Still not moving. I signed the receipt without looking at the total. Didn't take the copy. Didn't care. By the time I pushed through the restaurant doors, the night air hit me like a slap. Cool. Sharp. Real. I sucked in a breath. Okay, I said again, louder this time. Okay. My car was parked across the street. I walked faster than necessary, heels clicking hard against the pavement. With every step, the excuses got weaker. Meeting. Client. Work emergency. None of them explained the lie. None of them explained the location. None of them explained why my stomach felt like it was already bracing for something I didn't want to see. I got into the driver's seat and slammed the door harder than I meant to. My phone was still in my hand. Still open. Still showing it. Westfield Suites. The dot pulsed again. Like it was alive. Like it was waiting for me. I stared at it for a long second. Then I started the engine. Let's find out, I said under my breath. And before I could change my mind, I put the car in drive. I didn't remember most of the drive. Just fragments. Red lights I almost ran. A horn blaring somewhere behind me. My own reflection in the rearview mirror, tight jaw, eyes too focused, like if I blinked, something would disappear. The map stayed open on my phone, mounted awkwardly against the dash. That green dot. Still there. Still not moving. Come on, I muttered. Move. It didn't. If anything, that made it worse. Because if this was something innocent, if this was really just work, he would have left by now. Right, unless he wasn't alone. The thought hit harder this time. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. No, I said out loud. Don't do that. Don't assume. Don't spiral. Don't. The hotel came into view before I finished the thought. Westfield Suites. A bland, mid-rise building with too many windows and not enough personality. The kind of place people didn't remember being in. Which, suddenly, felt intentional. I slowed the car as I pulled into the entrance. Valet stand on the right. Glass doors straight ahead. Soft lighting inside. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that screamed affair. That almost made it worse. I parked myself instead of handing over the keys. I didn't want anyone remembering me. Didn't want witnesses. The engine cut off, and for a second, everything went quiet. Too quiet. My hand hovered over the door handle. This is the part where you leave. Where you go home. Where you decide you trust your husband and don't turn into what? I let out a short, humorless laugh. Too late. I grabbed my phone and stepped out of the car. The air smelled faintly like rain and asphalt. My heels hit the pavement again, slower this time. More controlled. Every step toward the entrance felt deliberate. Like I was choosing this. Like I couldn't undo it once I crossed that line. The doors slid open automatically. Of course they did. No dramatic push. No hesitation. Just, welcome in. The lobby was warm. Too warm. Soft yellow lighting. A couple sitting near the corner, heads close together, laughing quietly over something on a phone. I looked away too quickly. The front desk clerk glanced up, gave me a polite nod. Good evening. Hi, I said, matching the tone automatically. Normal. Be normal. I walked past him without slowing down. Don't draw attention. Don't ask questions you're not ready to hear answers to. My phone buzzed slightly in my hand, the map adjusting as I moved. I glanced down. The dot shifted. Slightly. Still in the building. Upper floors. My stomach tightened. Okay, I whispered. Okay. Elevators were to the left. Of course they were. Everything about this place was predictable. Clean. Anonymous. Safe for people who didn't want to be seen. I pressed the call button. The wait felt longer than it should have been. One floor light blinked. Then another. I checked the map again. Still there. Still not moving. The elevator dinged. Doors slid open. Empty. I stepped inside. Hit the button for the floor closest to where the dot hovered. My finger hesitated for half a second before pressing it. The doors closed. And suddenly, I was alone. Completely alone. No background noise. No conversations. Just the low hum of the elevator moving upward. My reflection stared back at me from the mirrored wall. I barely recognized her. You can still leave, I said quietly. The woman in the mirror didn't answer. The elevator stopped. Ding. Doors opened. Hallway. Long. Quiet. Carpeted in that generic pattern that hides stains and secrets equally well. I stepped out. The doors closed behind me with a soft click. Too final. I checked my phone again. The dot was closer. Same floor. My pulse kicked up. Of course it is, I whispered. Each step down the hallway felt louder than it should have. Room numbers slid past me. My breathing got shallow. I slowed down. No plan. No script. No idea what I was actually going to do if the dot stopped almost directly in front of me. Room 712. I froze. That's not. I shook my head slightly. That didn't mean anything. Location wasn't that precise. Could be next door. Could be above. Could be a sound. Soft. Muted. From behind the door. I held my breath. Another sound. A voice. I couldn't make out the words. But I knew the voice. Ethan. My chest tightened so fast it felt like something inside me snapped into place. There it is. Proof. Real. Physical. Undeniable. My hand curled into a fist at my side. I stepped closer. Close enough to hear better. I said not tonight. Ethan's voice came through, clearer now. Low. Controlled. Not rushed. Not panicked. Controlled. Another voice answered. Female. You promised. I stopped breathing entirely. Everything in my body went still. I leaned just a fraction closer to the door. You can't keep doing this, the woman said. Her tone sharper now. She deserves to know. My heart slammed hard enough to make me dizzy. She. That word echoed louder than anything else. She deserves to know. Know what? My hand moved before I could think. Knuckles inches from the door. Stop. Just stop. Walk away. You don't actually want to see this. You don't want confirmation. Because once you have it, there's no going back. Inside, Ethan spoke again. She doesn't need to know everything. Something inside me broke. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just, cleanly. Like a thread snapping under too much tension. My hand dropped from the door. For a second, I thought I might actually walk away. Pretend I never came. Pretend I never heard. The door handle moved. I froze. Wait, what? The door opened. Not all the way. Just enough. And then, Ethan stepped out. He turned slightly, like he was about to say something back into the room, and then he saw me. Everything stopped. His face changed in a way I had never seen before. Not guilt. Not exactly. Something sharper. Something like calculation colliding with shock. Sophia, My name sounded wrong in his mouth. Behind him, the door opened wider. And she stepped into view. For a split second, my brain refused to process it. Because it didn't match the story I had built. Didn't fit the fear. Didn't make sense. Claire? I heard myself say. My voice came out flat. Too flat. Like it belonged to someone else. Claire stood there, just behind Ethan. Not hiding. Not scrambling. Not even surprised enough. Which, somehow, was worse. Her eyes met mine. And instead of panic, there was something else. Something I couldn't read yet. Something that made my stomach drop even further. Silence stretched between the three of us. Thick. Unstable. Then I laughed. A short, sharp sound that didn't feel like mine. Wow, I said. Okay. Ethan took a step toward me. Sophia, listen. No, I cut him off immediately. No, don't. My eyes flicked between them. Back and forth. Trying to force the pieces into something that made sense. You told me you were working, I said. Each word came out sharper. More controlled. You said you were at the office. He started. And instead, I continued, louder now, you're here. I gestured toward the room. Toward the two of them. At a hotel. With her. Claire inhaled slightly, like she was about to speak. Don't, I snapped, turning on her instantly. You don't get to talk right now. She stopped. But she didn't look away. Didn't look ashamed. Didn't look like someone who just got caught. That detail lodged somewhere deep in my chest. Wrong. This is wrong. But I didn't understand how yet. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, exhaling hard. It's not what you think. Of course. Of course that's what he said. I actually smiled at that. Wow. You really went with that, Sophia. How long? I cut in. My voice dropped this time. Quieter. More dangerous. How long has this been going on? Ethan's jaw tightened. Claire looked at him. A quick glance. But I caught it. And that was enough. That long, huh? I said softly. It's not like that, Ethan said again, more firmly this time. Then what is it like? I shot back. Silence. Just for a second. But it was enough. Enough to confirm everything I didn't want to believe. My chest rose and fell too fast now. On our anniversary, I said. That part hit differently. You couldn't even make it one night. That's not fair, Ethan said. I laughed again. Not amused. Not even angry anymore. Just hollow. Not fair. I repeated. You're cheating on me and you're talking about fair. I'm not cheating on you. That stopped me. Just for a second. Because he didn't hesitate when he said it. Didn't soften it. Didn't look away. I'm not, he repeated. I stared at him. Searching his face for cracks. For guilt. For something I could use. But what I saw instead was certainty. And somehow, that made everything worse. I shook my head slowly. Then explain it. Ethan didn't answer. Not immediately. And in that pause, Claire spoke. Quiet. Clear. Cutting straight through everything. You really don't know anything, do you? I turned to her slowly. What does that mean? She held my gaze. Didn't flinch. Didn't hesitate. And whatever was in her expression, it wasn't guilt. It was something closer to pity. Say it again. My voice came out low. Flat. Controlled in a way that scared even me. Claire didn't look away. I said, she repeated, calm, too calm, you don't know what's going on. I let out a short breath through my nose. Wow. I nodded slowly, like I was actually considering that. Wow, I let out a dry laugh. That's bold. Sophia, Ethan stepped in again. Don't, I snapped, my hand coming up between us like a barrier. Just, don't. He stopped. But he didn't back away. That was the problem. He wasn't acting like a man who just got caught. He wasn't scrambling. He wasn't apologizing. He was managing. Like this was damage control. Like I was the situation. My stomach twisted. I turned back to Claire. You don't get to stand there, I said, each word precise, and act like I'm missing something. I'm not acting, she said quietly. Oh, really? I took a step toward her. Because from where I'm standing, this is pretty clear. Soph, you lied to me, I cut in, pointing at Ethan without even looking at him. And you I shifted my finger toward Claire. You knew. Claire's expression tightened, just slightly. There's a reason, there's always a reason, I said sharply. That's what people say when they don't want to admit what they did. That's not what this is. Then what is it? I shot back. Silence. Again. That pause. That hesitation. It hit harder this time. Because now I wasn't just angry, I was starting to feel stupid. Like there was a conversation happening that I wasn't part of. Like they were both standing one step ahead of me. And I hated that feeling. Right, I said, nodding slowly. You don't want to say it. Ethan exhaled, rubbing his face with one hand. It's complicated. I stared at him. Actually stared. Then I laughed. Louder this time. Of course it is. Sophia, listen. No, you listen, I snapped, my voice rising for the first time. You don't get to disappear on our anniversary, lie about where you are, show up in a hotel room with my best friend, former best friend, Claire said quietly. That landed hard. I turned to her sharply. What? Her jaw tightened slightly. I was going to tell you. When? I demanded. After this. Before this. While you were, what, planning your schedule around my marriage? That's not fair. There it is again, I said, shaking my head. You both love that word tonight. Ethan stepped closer. Sophia, please. Just lower your voice. I let out a sharp laugh. Why? Afraid someone might hear. Yes, he said. No hesitation. No irony. Just, yes. That stopped me. Not because of what he said, but how he said it. Direct. Serious. Like that actually mattered more than anything else happening right now. Wow, I whispered. That's what you're worried about. I'm worried about you, he said. I stared at him. For a second, just a second, something in my chest shifted. Because that sounded real. Too real. But then, no, I said, shaking it off. No, you don't get to do that. Do what? That, I pointed at him. That tone. That whole, calm, concerned, reasonable thing. Like I'm the one overreacting. You are overreacting. The words hit like a slap. Silence dropped hard between us. Even Claire flinched slightly. Say that again, I said quietly. Ethan didn't hesitate. You're overreacting, he repeated. Because you don't have the full picture. Something inside me snapped. Completely this time. Then give it to me, I shouted. My voice echoed down the hallway. A door somewhere down the corridor opened slightly. I didn't care. Give me the full picture, Ethan. I stepped closer to him. Explain it. Right now. He held my gaze. For a long second. Too long. And then, I can't. The world tilted. Not dramatically. Not like in movies. Just, enough. Enough to make everything feel unstable. You can't, I repeated. I can't, he said again. Or you won't. He didn't answer. That was the answer. I let out a slow breath. Nodded once. Okay, I said quietly. Okay. Got it. I stepped back. Physically. Emotionally. Something in me pulled away, fast and clean. Like a door slamming shut. Then we're done. Ethan's expression changed. That was the first real crack. Sophia, no, I said, holding up my hand again. You don't get to stop that sentence. I'm not letting you walk away like this. I let out a small, incredulous laugh. You don't get to let me do anything. Claire stepped forward slightly. Sophia, if you leave right now. I turned on her instantly. What? I'll what? Miss the part where you both come up with a better story. Her face hardened. That's not what I was going to say. I don't care. And I meant it. Or at least, I wanted to. Because the alternative was listening. And I wasn't sure I could handle whatever came next. You should care, Claire said. Quiet. Firm. That same tone from before. The one that didn't fit. The one that made this whole thing feel off. I don't, I repeated. Ethan stepped in again, closer this time. Sophia, just give me 1 hour. I blinked. What, 1 hour? He said. That's all I'm asking. I stared at him like he'd lost his mind. You want me to what? Sit in the lobby while you finish whatever this is? That's not what I mean. Then what do you mean? He hesitated. Just a fraction. But I caught it. Always caught it. Exactly, I said softly. You don't even know how to say it. I do, he said. I just can't. I finished for him. Silence. Again. God, I was so tired of that silence. You know what? I shook my head. It doesn't matter. It does matter. Not anymore. That was the truth. Or at least, it felt like it in that moment. Because whatever explanation existed, it came after the lie. After the location. After the choice he made not to tell me. And that was the part one couldn't get past. I took another step back. Creating distance. I trusted you, I said. The words came out quieter now. Not sharp. Not angry. Just honest. And you lied to me. Ethan's jaw tightened. I was trying to protect you. I let out a breath that almost turned into a laugh. There it is, I said. The worst excuse of all. It's not an excuse. It is when you use it to justify this. You don't understand what you're involved in. That stopped me. Not completely, but enough. What did you just say? Ethan's eyes flicked to Claire for a split second. Too fast for most people to notice. But I saw it. Always saw it. And that look, that one look, told me everything I didn't want to admit. They were aligned. On something. Something bigger than this moment. Something I wasn't part of. A cold feeling spread through my chest. Slow. Heavy. What am I involved in? I asked. No one answered. Of course they didn't. I nodded once. Took another step back. Then another. Right, I said. That's what I thought. Sophia, don't follow me. Ethan stopped. I turned and walked away before he could say anything else. Before I didn't run. That was the strange part. I thought I would. I thought I'd storm out, slam doors, make a scene, something loud enough to match what was happening inside my chest. But I didn't. I just walked. Each step steady. Measured. Like if I moved too fast, something behind me would catch up. Or worse, I'd turn around. The hallway felt longer on the way back. Too long. Every door I passed looked identical. Closed. Silent. Like nothing had happened behind any of them. Like the world had already decided this didn't matter. The elevator was still there when I reached it. Waiting. Of course it was. I pressed the button. My hand didn't shake anymore. That scared me more than anything. The doors opened. I stepped inside. Alone again. The mirror caught me immediately. Same woman. Same face. But something had shifted. Not visibly. Not something anyone else would notice. But I felt it. A small, clean break somewhere deep. You're fine, I said to my reflection. My voice sounded calm. Too calm. Totally fine. The doors slid shut. The elevator started moving. Down this time. Slow. Controlled. Predictable. Unlike everything else. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. And that's when it hit. Not all at once. Not dramatic. Just pieces. Ethan's voice, I can't. Claire's voice, you don't know anything. Ethan again, you're overreacting. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Right. Because clearly, this was me. Overreacting to my husband lying about his location and meeting my best friend in a hotel room. Makes perfect sense. The elevator dinged. Doors opened. Lobby again. Warm light. Soft noise. That same couple was still there, still laughing. I hated them a little. For no reason. For existing in a world where things still made sense. I walked past the front desk. The clerk glanced up again. Same polite nod. No suspicion. No awareness. Good. Let it stay that way. The door slid open as I approached. Cool air hit me again. Sharper this time. More real. I stepped outside. And stopped. Just for a second. Because now, there was nothing between me and the night. No hallway. No elevator. No delay. Just what I knew. Or thought I knew. I pulled my phone out again. My fingers moved automatically. Find my Ethan. The map loaded. The dot appeared. Same place. Same building. Same floor. Still not moving. I stared at it. Longer this time. Trying to feel something. Anger. Rage. Jealousy. Anything. But all I got was this strange, hollow quiet. Like my emotions had stepped back to watch. "You're still there," I said under my breath. Of course he was. Why wouldn't he be? Whatever that conversation was, it wasn't finished. Whatever they were doing, it mattered more than coming after me. That thought should have hurt more. But instead, it just settled. Like confirmation. I zoomed in slightly. Room 712. Still pinned in my mind. Still exact. Still real. I could go back. Right now. March back in. Kick the door open. Demand answers. Force the truth out of them. I stared at the entrance. Glass doors. Automatic. Easy. All I had to do was walk. My foot didn't move. Instead, my screen dimmed. I hadn't touched it. The map faded slightly, waiting for input. Waiting for me. I locked the phone. The screen went black. And just like that, the dot disappeared. Not gone. Just out of sight. I stood there for a long moment. Then I let out a breath. Okay. The word felt different now. Not like before. Not like a question. More like a decision. I turned. Walked back to my car. Each step easier than the last. Not because I felt better. But because something had already ended. I just hadn't caught up to it yet. I got into the driver's seat. Closed the door. Silence. Real silence this time. No voices behind walls. No half answers. No looks I didn't understand. Just me. And the aftermath. I rested my hands on the steering wheel. Didn't start the engine. Didn't move. Just sat there. And finally, my phone buzzed. I didn't look at it right away. I already knew who it was. Of course I did. I picked it up slowly. Screen lit up. Ethan calling. I stared at it. Watched it ring. Once. Twice. 3 times. My thumb hovered over the screen. Answer. Don't answer. Say something. Say nothing. The call ended. A second later, another buzz. A message. I opened it. "Sophia, please. Just let me explain." I stared at the words. Read them once. Then again. Then I typed. Deleted. Typed again. Deleted again. Finally, I locked the phone. Set it down. Didn't reply. Didn't call back. Didn't give him anything. Outside, the hotel lights glowed softly behind me. Inside, that room still existed. That conversation was still happening. That truth, whatever it was still sitting there. And for the first time since I got there, I made a choice. Not to chase it. Not tonight. I started the engine. The sound cut through the silence cleanly. Decisively. I pulled out of the parking lot without looking back. Not at the building. Not at the entrance. Not at the place where everything had just shifted. I kept my eyes on the road. On the dark stretch ahead. Because whatever waited behind me was no longer something I could unknow. And whatever came next was going to be worse than I thought. I just didn't know how yet. I didn't go home. Not right away. I drove. No destination. No plan. Just movement. The city blurred past in streaks of red lights and dark storefronts, my hands steady on the wheel in a way that didn't match what was happening inside my head. Every few minutes, my phone lit up. Ethan. Calling. Again. And again. And again. I didn't answer. Didn't even decline. Just let it ring. Let him sit in that same uncertainty he'd dropped me into. Petty, maybe. But right now, it felt like the only control I had left. At a red light, I finally picked up the phone. Not to answer. Just to look. 5 missed calls. 3 messages. I opened the first one. "Sophia, please don't do this." I let out a short laugh. "Don't do what?" I muttered. "Leave." I opened the next. "We need to talk. This isn't what it looks like." Of course. That line again. Predictable. Safe. Meaningless. The third message took longer to load. Or maybe I just hesitated. "If you walk away now, you're putting yourself in danger." I froze. The light turned green. A car behind me honked. I didn't move. "Hey," another honk. Louder. I blinked, forced myself to focus, and pressed the gas. But my eyes kept flicking back to the screen. "You're putting yourself in danger." A chill ran through me. "Seriously?" I whispered. That was the angle now. Fear, manipulation. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. No, I said. No, you don't get to scare me into coming back. I tossed the phone onto the passenger seat like it had burned me. Danger. Right. Because clearly the dangerous situation here was me leaving my husband alone with my best friend in a hotel room. Makes perfect sense. I drove another block. Then another. But the word wouldn't leave. Danger. It didn't sound like Ethan. That was the problem. He lied. Fine. He hid things. Clearly. But he wasn't dramatic. He wasn't the kind of person who. My phone buzzed again. This time, I grabbed it immediately. Not Ethan. Claire. Of course. I stared at her name for a long second. Claire Donovan. My best friend for 8 years. The woman who knew everything about me. Or at least, I thought she did. Another buzz. A message. Sophia, pick up. I laughed under my breath. No. Another message came in almost instantly. You're making this worse. My jaw tightened. Worse for who? I hit call before I could think better of it. It rang once. Twice. She picked up. Finally. Her voice. Same as always. Calm. Clear. Like we were discussing weekend plans, not the fact that I had just caught her in a hotel room with my husband. You don't get to sound relieved, I said immediately. There was a pause. Then, I wasn't relieved, she said. I was worried. I let out a sharp laugh. That's hilarious. I'm serious. Yeah, I'm sure you are. Sophia, no, I cut in. You don't get to use my name like that. Like what? Like we're still, whatever we were before tonight. Silence. For a second, I thought she might actually apologize. She didn't. Instead, where are you? I almost swerved. What? Where are you right now? She repeated, more firmly. I stared at the road ahead. You don't get to ask me that. I need to know. No, you don't. Yes, I do. Why? I snapped. So you can track me too. That's not funny. Neither is this. My voice rose before I could stop it. I forced it back down. Explain to me, I said, slower now, why you were in that room. A pause. Longer this time. I can't, she said. Something in my chest tightened. There it is, I whispered. Same script. It's not a script. It sounds exactly like one. You don't understand what's happening. Then make me understand. I can't do that over the phone. I laughed again. Of course not. Because that would be too easy, right? It's not about easy. Then what is it about? Silence. God, I hated that silence. You're in danger, she said finally. There it was again. That word. Now from her. Not just Ethan. My grip tightened on the wheel. Stop saying that. I'm not saying it to scare you. Then why are you saying it? Because it's true. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see me. No. No, it's not. You think this is about Ethan and me? My stomach twisted. Isn't it? No. The answer came too fast. Too certain. And for a second, just a second, doubt slipped in. Small. Sharp. Unwelcome. Then what is it about? I asked. You. That word hit harder than anything else tonight. What? You're the one in the middle of this. I'm not in the middle of anything, I said. I just walked in on my husband lying to me and my best friend helping him do it. That's not what's happening. Then explain it. I told you. I can't. Then stop calling me. Silence. Then, softer, if you hang up, don't go home. I blinked. What? Just, don't go home yet. A cold feeling spread through my chest again. Slower this time. Heavier. Why? No answer. Claire, I said, my voice dropping, if you know something and you're not telling me, I'm trying to keep you safe. By lying to me, by not telling you everything yet. That's the same thing. No, it's not. It is when I'm the one you're hiding it from. Another pause. Then, do you trust me at all? The question hit wrong. Completely wrong. I let out a slow breath. Not right now. Silence. Longer this time. Final. Then I don't know how to help you, she said. Maybe you should have thought about that before tonight. I ended the call. Just like that. No goodbye. No hesitation. The silence in the car felt heavier now. Different. Not empty. Loaded. I stared straight ahead, barely registering the road anymore. "You're the one in the middle of this." Her voice echoed in my head, followed by Ethan's. "You're putting yourself in danger." I exhaled slowly. "No," I said. "No, I'm not doing this." This was exactly what they wanted. Confusion, doubt, second guessing. That's how people got control back. That's how they turned things around. Made you question your own reality until you didn't even know what you were reacting to anymore. I wasn't going to let that happen. I took the next turn without really thinking. Then another. Then, I stopped. Because I knew where I was. My street. My house at the end of it. Dark. Quiet. Exactly where I should feel safe. I stared at it from the car. Engine still running. Hands still on the wheel. Claire's voice echoed again, "Don't go home." I let out a breath. "Yeah," I muttered. "That's not suspicious at all." I shifted the car into park. Sat there for a second. Then another. Nothing happened. No movement. No sign of anything wrong. Just my house. Waiting. Normal. Familiar. Mine. "Enough," I said. I grabbed my bag, turned off the engine, and stepped out of the car. The house looked exactly the same. That was the first thing I noticed. No broken windows. No lights flickering. No sign of anything wrong. Just my house. Dark, quiet, ordinary. I stood by the car for a second, keys in hand, staring at the front door like it might tell me something if I looked long enough. "This is stupid," I muttered. Of course it was. Claire telling me not to go home, Ethan talking about danger, it was all part of the same thing. Deflection. Confusion. Control. I walked up the driveway. Each step felt heavier than it should have. Not fear. Not exactly. More like resistance. Like something in me was saying wait, but I didn't. I reached the front door. Unlocked it. Pushed it open. Silence. Real silence. Not the kind from the hotel. Not the kind filled with things happening behind walls. Just absence. I stepped inside. Closed the door behind me. The click of the lock sounded louder than usual. Too final. "See?" I said quietly to no one. Nothing. I dropped my bag on the table by the door. Keys followed. The familiar sounds grounded me. Normal. Everything was normal. I reached for the light switch. Paused. Just for a second. Then flipped it. Warm light flooded the living room. Same couch. Same coffee table. Same blanket draped over the armrest exactly how I left it that morning. Nothing out of place. Nothing wrong. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "Happy now?" I muttered under my breath. Claire was wrong. Ethan was lying. That was the story. Simple. Clear. Painful, but simple. I walked further inside, kicking off my heels as I went. They hit the floor with a soft thud. I didn't bother picking them up. Didn't care. My phone buzzed again somewhere in my bag. I ignored it. Let it buzz. Let it stop. Let it sit there unanswered like everything else. I moved into the kitchen. Turned on the light. Same thing. Clean counters. Empty sink. A glass I had left by the faucet that morning still sitting exactly where I remembered. I walked over and touched it. Cold. Untouched. "See?" I said again, softer this time. Nothing had happened here. Nothing had changed. Which meant, everything that mattered had happened somewhere else. The thought hit harder than I expected. I pulled my hand back. Turned away. "Whatever," I said. "It's over." The words felt strange. Too big for how quietly they landed. But I didn't take them back. I walked down the hallway toward the bedroom. Each step slower now. Not because I was afraid. Because I was tired. Emotionally drained in a way that made everything feel slightly distant. Like I was watching myself go through the motions. I reached the bedroom door. Pushed it open. Dark. Still. Exactly as I left it. I stepped inside. Flicked on the light. And froze. It was small. So small I almost missed it. If I hadn't stopped, if I had just walked in like everything was normal, I wouldn't have noticed. But I did. Because something was wrong. The bed. The blanket. Folded differently. Not messy. Not disturbed. Just, not how I left it. I stared at it. That's nothing, I said immediately. People forget things all the time. I probably made the bed this morning and just, no. I didn't. I never make the bed. Ethan sometimes did. But not like this. This was deliberate. Too neat. Too exact. I walked closer. Slowly. My eyes scanned the room. Nightstand. Lamp. Everything looked fine. But the feeling, that quiet, crawling feeling, didn't go away. Stop, I whispered. You're imagining things. I reached out and touched the blanket. Smooth. Flat. No wrinkles. Like someone had taken the time to. My phone buzzed again. Loud this time. Close. I flinched. Actually flinched. Jesus, I muttered, pulling it out of my bag. Ethan. Again. I stared at his name. Then declined the call. Immediately. Before I could think. A message came in right after. Sophia, are you home? My stomach dropped. Cold. Instant. I stared at the screen. How does he know that? I whispered. I hadn't told him. I hadn't answered. I hadn't. My eyes moved slowly. Around the room. The bed. The door. The window. Closed. Locked. Nothing out of place. Except, my gaze snapped back to the phone. Another message. Sophia, listen to me. If you're inside, you need to leave. Now. The air in the room shifted. Not physically. But enough. Enough that my body noticed before my brain caught up. No, I said immediately. No, this is manipulation. It had to be. It had to be. Because the alternative meant, my phone buzzed again. Claire this time. I answered before I could stop myself. What? I snapped. Are you home? She asked immediately. Same question. Same urgency. My heart started beating faster. I hesitated. Just for a second. And that was enough. You are, she said. Not a question. A statement. How do you know that? I demanded. Because he told me you would go there. Something twisted in my chest. He doesn't get to, Sophia, she cut in, sharper this time. Listen to me very carefully. I went still. If you're inside that house, she continued, you need to walk out. Right now. Don't grab anything. Don't check anything. Just leave. My pulse pounded in my ears. This isn't funny. I'm not joking. You're both saying the same thing, I said. That's not a coincidence. No, she said. It's not. Silence. Heavy. Pressing. Why? I whispered. No answer. Of course. Always that gap. Always that missing piece. You don't get to tell me to run out of my own house without telling me why, I said, louder now. Because if I tell you why, she said, you'll hesitate. I let out a shaky breath. I'm already hesitating. Then stop. I need a reason. You need to trust me. I laughed. A sharp, broken sound. That's not happening. Silence. Then trust your instincts, she said. My instincts are telling me this is insane. No, she said quietly. They're telling you something's wrong. You're just trying not to hear it. I looked at the bed again. The too perfect blanket. My chest tightened. That doesn't mean anything, I said. Then why are you still standing there? I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. Because my body hadn't moved. Because something deep and quiet, was holding me in place. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Ethan. I didn't open it. Didn't want to. Didn't want to see whatever urgency he was about to throw at me next. Sophia, Claire said, softer now. Please. That word. Please. Not defensive. Not distant. Real. And that was new. I swallowed. Looked around the room one more time. Everything looked normal. Everything was normal. Except, nothing felt that way anymore. I'm not running, I said finally. Claire went quiet. Okay, she said after a moment. Too calm. Too accepting. That wasn't the reaction I expected. What does that mean? I asked. It means, she said, if you're staying, a pause. Then, you should check the closet. My stomach dropped. Hard. Why? No answer. Claire. Still nothing. The line went dead. I stared at the phone. Slowly lowered it. Then, very slowly, Turned my head toward the closet. The door was closed. Exactly how I always left it. Normal. Ordinary. Nothing wrong. Except now, I couldn't look at it the same way. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. Loud. Heavy. Relentless. This is insane, I whispered. No one answered. Of course no one answered. Because I was alone. Right, I took one step forward. Then another. Slow. Careful. Like the floor might give out under me. My hand lifted. Hovered in the air. Just inches from the closet door. If this is nothing, I whispered, I'm done. With all of you. My fingers touched the handle. Cold. Still. Real. I tightened my grip. And pulled. The door opened. Slow. Silent. Too easy. I held my breath without realizing it. Nothing jumped out. No movement. No shadow shifting. Just darkness. The closet light was off. Of course it was. I never left it on. My fingers fumbled along the inside wall until I found the switch. Click. Light flooded the space. Clothes. That was the first thing. Just clothes. Hanging exactly where they should be. My dresses on the left. Ethan's shirts on the right. Shoes lined neatly along the bottom. Everything looked normal. I let out a breath. A shaky one this time. See? I whispered. Nothing. I almost laughed. Actually almost laughed at myself. At how easily I'd let them get into my head. At how close I was to. Then I stopped. Because something wasn't right. Not obvious. Not immediate. But there. That same feeling again. Quiet. Persistent. Wrong. I stepped closer. Eyes scanning slowly. Left to right. Top to bottom. Nothing moved. Nothing changed. But then, I saw it. On the floor. Near the back corner. A box. Small. Black. I frowned. That's not. I crouched down. Slowly. Carefully. Like it might disappear if I moved too fast. The box was out of place. Not shoved in. Not hidden. Just sitting there. Like it had been placed deliberately. I didn't recognize it. That was the problem. Everything in this house, I knew. Where it came from. Why it was there. I reached out. Paused. Pulled my hand back. No, I whispered. Don't be stupid. It was probably nothing. Something Ethan bought. Something I forgot. Something normal. Everything had an explanation. Everything. My phone buzzed again. Loud. Sharp. Right in my hand. I jumped. Actually jumped this time. God. I looked down. Ethan. Another message. I hesitated. Then opened it. Did you open the closet? My blood went cold. Instant. Total. I stared at the screen. My brain trying to catch up. How do you know that? I whispered. No answer. Of course. Another message came in. Faster this time. Sophia, listen to me. Do not touch anything inside. Too late. Way too late. My eyes snapped back to the box. Still there. Still waiting. I swallowed. Why? I said out loud. The word barely made it past my throat. Another message. Please. Just walk out of the house. I laughed. A short, sharp, completely unhinged sound. Now you care. My voice echoed slightly in the small space. Too loud. Too alone. I looked back at the box. Then at my phone. Then back again. If this was a game, if this was manipulation, then walking away meant they controlled the narrative. They decided what I saw. What I didn't. What I believed. No. Not happening. I'm done listening to you, I muttered. And before I could stop myself, I reached forward and picked up the box. It was lighter than I expected. That was the first thing. The second, it was already open. Not sealed. Not locked. Just closed. Like someone expected it to be opened. Slowly, very slowly, I lifted the lid. Inside, paper. Just paper. Folded. Stacked. Nothing explosive. Nothing threatening. Just documents. My hands trembled slightly as I pulled the top sheet out. Unfolded it. Looked down. And froze. My name. At the top. Clear. Bold. Sophia Carter. What? My eyes scanned the page. numbers, transactions, dates, bank activity, large amounts, very large. My breath caught. I flipped to the next page. Same thing. More transactions, different accounts, same name. Mine. No, I said, shaking my head. No, this isn't. Another page. Another. Each one worse than the last. Amounts I didn't recognize. Transfers I didn't remember. Accounts I had never seen. This is fake, I whispered. This has to be fake. My phone buzzed again. I didn't look. Didn't want to. Didn't need more voices in my head right now. I flipped to the last page. And that's when I saw it. A name. At the bottom. Not mine. Not Ethan's. Someone else. Daniel Reeves. The room tilted. Not physically. But enough. Enough that I had to grab onto the edge of the closet door to steady myself. I know that name, I whispered. I did. I just couldn't place it. Not yet. Not clearly. But it was there. Somewhere in my memory. Something connected. Something important. My phone buzzed again. This time, I looked. Another message from Ethan. That's not from me. I let out a slow breath. That's supposed to make me feel better. Another message. Sophia, you need to understand, someone is using your name. I stared at the screen. Then at the papers in my hand. Then back again. No, I said. No, that's possible. The thought slipped in before I could stop it. Quiet. Dangerous. Possible. Another message. That's what we've been trying to tell you. We. Not just him. Him and Claire. Together. Aligned. My chest tightened. So that's it. I said under my breath. That's your explanation. I looked back at the papers. At my name. At the transactions. At the amounts that made no sense. If this is real, I whispered. The thought didn't finish. Didn't need to. Because if it was real, then tonight wasn't about betrayal. It was about something else. Something bigger. Something worse. My phone buzzed again. Claire this time. I answered immediately. What is this? I demanded. No greeting. No hesitation. Just the question. A pause. Then, you found it. Not a question. A confirmation. Yes, I found it, I snapped. What is it? Silence. Then, proof. The word landed heavy. Cold. Unavoidable. Of what? That you're being set up. My grip tightened on the papers. That's not possible. It is. No, it's not, I said. I would know if I was moving that kind of money. Would you? The question hit wrong. Too wrong. What does that mean? It means, she said carefully, whoever's doing this, they're good. I shook my head. This doesn't make sense. It will. When? Another pause. Then, soon. I laughed again. Tired. Frustrated. On edge. That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give you right now. Why? Because if I say more, she stopped. Cut herself off. Say more what? I pushed. Silence. Again. Always that silence. You see the problem? I said. You keep asking me to trust you, but you won't tell me anything. I'm telling you what matters. No, you're telling me just enough to keep me from walking away. That's because walking away isn't safe. There it was again. That word. Safe. Danger. I closed my eyes for a second. Tried to think. Tried to piece it together. Ethan. Claire. The hotel. The lies. This box. These papers. My name. Someone using it. None of it fit. Not cleanly. Not logically. But it also didn't feel fake anymore. And that was the problem. What happens now? I asked quietly. A pause. Then, you stop assuming this is about your marriage. The words hit harder than anything else she'd said. Because that was exactly what I'd been doing. Framing everything through that lens. Betrayal. Affair. Lies. Simple. Understandable. Safe. And now, that frame was cracking. Slowly. Dangerously. What is it about, then? I asked. Claire didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was lower. More serious than I had ever heard it. It's about why someone wants to make it look like you're committing a crime. My breath caught. I looked down at the papers again. At my name. At the numbers. At the evidence. Why would anyone do that? I whispered. Silence. Then, that's what we've been trying to figure out. I swallowed. Hard. The room felt different now. Not like a place I lived in. Like a place I didn't fully understand anymore. Like something had been happening here, without me. And you thought, I said slowly, the best way to handle that was to lie to me, yes. No hesitation. No apology. Just, yes. That hurt more than anything else tonight. More than the hotel. More than the lie. Because it meant, they made a choice. And I wasn't part of it. I let out a slow breath. Okay, I said. The word felt different now. Again. Not acceptance. Not peace. Just, movement. Something shifting forward whether I wanted it to or not. Okay, what? Claire asked. I looked at the closet. At the box. At the life I thought I understood. Then back at nothing. At the space in front of me. Now you start talking, I said. Silence. Then, no, she said. My jaw tightened. What? Not over the phone. Then where? Another pause. Then, somewhere safe. I laughed under my breath. Apparently, that's not here. No, she said quietly. It's not. I didn't pack a bag. That was the first mistake. Or maybe it wasn't a mistake. Maybe it was instinct. Because packing meant leaving. And I wasn't ready to admit that yet. I stood in the middle of the bedroom, phone still in my hand, the closet door open behind me like a quiet accusation. Somewhere safe. I repeated Claire's words under my breath. Yeah. That sounds great. Very specific. My eyes drifted back to the box. Still sitting there. Still open. Still full of things I didn't understand. I should take it. That was obvious. If this was evidence, if this was real, leaving it here didn't make sense. Unless someone came back for it. That thought hit harder than I expected. I crossed the room quickly, grabbed the box, and shut the closet door harder than necessary. The sound echoed. Too loud. Too final. Okay, I muttered. Think. Where do you go when your house might not be safe, your husband is lying to you, and your best friend is suddenly part of whatever this is? No good answers. Only bad ones. My phone buzzed again. I didn't need to look. I already knew. Ethan. Still trying. Still pushing. I stared at the screen for a long second. Then, I answered. Say it, I said immediately. No hello. No build-up. Just, get to it. There was a pause on the other end. Then his voice. Lower than before. More controlled. Are you still in the house? I looked around the room. At the walls. At the door. At everything that suddenly felt less familiar. Yes. A sharp exhale. Okay. Don't, I said. Don't okay me. You don't get to act relieved right now. I'm not relieved, he said. I'm trying to assess the situation. I let out a short laugh. There you go again. What? That tone, I said. Like this is some kind of operation. A pause. Then, it is. That stopped me. Completely. What? You need to leave, he said. Now. No. The word came out instantly. Firm. Final. I'm not doing anything else until you explain what the hell is going on. Sophia, no, I cut in. You lost the right to give instructions when you lied to me. Silence. Then, fair, he said. That wasn't the response I expected. It threw me off just enough that I didn't interrupt when he continued. But that doesn't change the situation. Then explain it. I will. Another pause. Short. Measured. Just not there. I laughed again. Of course. Not there. Not on the phone. Not anywhere I can actually verify anything you're saying. I'm trying to keep you safe. There it is again, I snapped. You keep saying that like it means something. It does mean something. Then prove it. Silence. Then, did you find the box? He asked. My grip tightened around the edge of it. Yes. Another exhale. Heavier this time. Okay. Stop saying that, I said. And start talking. That box wasn't supposed to be there yet. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means whoever's behind this is moving faster than we thought. We. Again. You and Claire? I said. Yes. The answer came without hesitation. Of course it did. Right, I muttered. Team effort. This isn't what you think it is. Then stop saying that and tell me what it is. Another pause. Then, do you remember Daniel Reeves? The name hit differently this time. Not just familiar. Close. Like something just out of reach. I've seen the name, I said. On the documents. That's not what I asked. I know, I snapped. I stopped, pressing my fingers to my temple. I know it from somewhere. Think. I am thinking, silence. Then, 3 years ago, he said. Chicago. The investment conference. Something shifted. Fast. Sharp. Clear. Oh my God, I whispered. And there it was. Daniel Reeves. Suit. Perfect smile. Confident. Too confident. You met him, Ethan continued. You worked with him. For like, 2 weeks, I said quickly. That was nothing. It wasn't nothing. It was a consulting thing, I insisted. Short term. I barely remember it. You should. The way he said that, flat, direct, made my chest tighten. Why? Another pause. Then, because he's the one setting you up. The words landed hard. Heavy. Final. No, I said immediately. No, that doesn't make sense. It does if you look at the pattern. What pattern? The transactions, he said. The accounts. The timing. I didn't do any of that. I know. I froze. You know, yes. No hesitation. No doubt. Just, yes. Something in my chest shifted. Small. Unwelcome. Then why did you say you didn't know if I was involved? I asked. Silence. There it was. That moment. That crack. You did say that, I pressed. At the hotel. You said you didn't know if I was involved. I said I didn't know at first. That's not what you said. It's what I meant. That's not the same thing. Another pause. Then, no, he said quietly. It's not. The honesty hit harder than any lie. Because it meant, at some point, he looked at me, and considered that I might be part of this. You thought I could be doing this, I said. Not a question. A statement. A realization. I had to consider every possibility. I let out a slow breath. That includes me. Yes. The word landed like a weight. Heavy. Unforgiving. I nodded slowly, even though he couldn't see me. Okay. Sophia, no, I said. Don't. I needed a second. Just one. To process that. To feel it fully. To let it settle in the space where trust used to be. Okay, I said again. Quieter this time. More controlled. You thought I could be involved. I don't think that anymore. That doesn't undo it. I know. Silence stretched between us. Different this time. Not empty. Not tense. Just real. Uncomfortable. Honest in a way that hurt more than anything else tonight. I looked down at the box again. At my name on the papers. At the life that was starting to fracture in ways I didn't understand. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. The question came out softer than I expected. Not angry. Not sharp. Just tired. Because I didn't know who I could trust, he said. The answer came immediately. Too quickly. Too easily. And that was the problem. I let out a quiet laugh. Yeah, I said. That makes 2 of us. Silence. Then, you can trust me now, he said. I closed my eyes. Just for a second. Let the words settle. Measured them. Weighed them. Compared them to everything that had happened tonight. Then I opened my eyes again. No, I said. Simple. Clear. Final. I can't. The word no hung there longer than I expected. On my end, it felt solid. Certain. On his end, it didn't seem to change anything. That doesn't matter right now, Ethan said. I almost laughed. Of course it doesn't. I'm serious. I can tell, I said. You sound like you're briefing a client, not talking to your wife. A pause. Then, I need you to listen. I've been listening all night, I said. That's kind of the problem. No, he said. You've been reacting. I went still. The shift in tone was subtle, but real. And now? I asked. Now I need you to think. I am thinking. Then answer this, he said. Why would someone plant that box in your closet? I looked down at it again. At the papers. At my name printed in clean, undeniable letters. To frame me, I said. Yes. So they can what? Call the police. Ruin my life, maybe. Maybe. I snapped. That's your big theory. No, he said. That's the part we understand. I frowned. And the part you don't? Silence. Then, why now? The room felt colder. Not physically. Just, narrower. Focused. 3 years, he continued. If this started back then, why wait until now to escalate? I swallowed. I don't know. Neither do we. We. Always we. I pressed my fingers into my temple again. Okay, I said slowly. Let's say I believe you. You don't. I don't, I agreed. But let's pretend. A pause. Then, okay. Then what? I asked. What's the plan? Because from where I'm standing, I have a box full of fake evidence with my name on it, and 2 people who won't tell me the full story. Step 1, he said, ignoring the last part, you leave the house. No. Sophia, no, I repeated. We already did this. You're not safe there. You keep saying that. Because it's true. And I keep asking why. And I keep telling you I can't explain that yet. Then we're stuck, I said flatly. Silence. Then, no, he said. We're not. Something in his tone shifted. Sharper now. More urgent. What does that mean? I asked. It happened then. A sound. Soft. Almost nothing. But enough. Enough that my body reacted before my brain did. A faint click. Somewhere in the house. I froze. Did you hear that? Ethan asked immediately. My grip tightened on the phone. Another sound. Closer this time. Not loud. Not obvious. But wrong. Completely wrong. Yes, I whispered. Where are you? He asked. Bedroom. Stay on the line. I let out a breath that didn't feel steady. I'm not hanging up. Good. Another sound. A shift. Like something brushing lightly against a wall. Or, someone. No, I whispered under my breath. No, you're not alone in that house, Ethan said. The certainty in his voice snapped something into place. This isn't funny, I said, even as my pulse started to spike. I'm not joking. Then what is that? I demanded, my voice barely above a whisper now. That's why I told you to leave. Another sound. Closer. In the hallway this time. I turned slowly. The bedroom door was still open. The hallway beyond it, empty. But the air felt different. Like something had moved through it. Recently. You need to get out, Ethan said. Now. My legs didn't move. Go, he said, sharper now. I think. Move. Do something. But my body stayed locked in place. Because if I moved, I might see something. And if I saw something, this became real. Another sound. A floorboard. Just outside the room. That did it. I moved. Fast. Not toward the door, away from it. Instinct. Wrong instinct. I backed up until I hit the wall behind me, my eyes locked on the hallway. There's someone here, I whispered. I know, Ethan said. Listen to me carefully. How do you know? I demanded. Because this is what they do. They. The word landed hard. Plural. Organized. Intentional. Who? I asked. No time. Footsteps. This time, clear. Unmistakable. Slow. Measured. Coming closer. My heart slammed hard enough to make me dizzy. Ethan, window, he said. Is there a window in the bedroom? Yes. Can you get out that way? I turned my head slightly. The window. Closed. 2nd floor. Maybe. Open it. What if, open it? His voice cut through everything else. Sharp. Commanding. I moved. Crossed the room in 2 steps. Hands fumbling slightly as I pushed the window up. Cold air rushed in. Too real. Too immediate. Behind me, the footsteps stopped. Right outside the door. Silence. Heavy. Pressing. Like whoever it was standing there. Listening. Waiting. Ethan, I whispered. I'm here. What if they come in, then you go out the window? That's a 2-story drop. You'll survive it. Great, I muttered. Love those odds. The doorknob moved. Slowly. Barely a sound. But I saw it. I saw it turn. My breath caught. Every muscle in my body locked. Go, Ethan said. The door creaked open. Just a fraction. Darkness in the gap. No face. No shape. Just presence. I didn't think anymore. Didn't question. Didn't hesitate. I climbed onto the windowsill and jumped. The ground hit harder than I expected. Not sharp. Not clean. Just impact. The air slammed out of my lungs as my body folded awkwardly into the grass below, pain shooting up my side before I even had time to process what had happened. Sophia, Ethan's voice. Still in my ear. Distant now. Distorted. I sucked in a breath, coughing. I'm fine. That was a lie. But I was moving. And right now, that was enough. Get up, he said immediately. Don't stay there. I wasn't planning on it, I muttered, pushing myself up with one arm. My ankle protested. Sharp. Unstable. Okay, not great, I said under my breath. Are you hurt? He asked. Yes, I snapped. But I'm alive, so let's call that a win. Can you move? I tested it. Carefully. Weight shifted. Pain, but manageable. Yeah, I said. Yeah, I can move. Then go. Front of the house. Don't look back. I let out a short breath. Wow. You really rehearsed this, didn't you? No, he said. I just know how this works. That line stuck. But I didn't have time to question it. I started moving. Fast as I could manage. Around the side of the house. Toward the street. Every step sent a jolt through my ankle, but adrenaline kept me going. Where are you? I asked between breaths. Close. Define close. 2 minutes. I rounded the corner. The front of the house came into view. My car still sitting there. Exactly where I left it. Normal. Everything looked normal. Except now, nothing felt that way. Ethan, keep moving. Headlights appeared at the end of the street. A car turning in. Too fast for a casual drive. My chest tightened. That you? I asked. Yes. The car pulled up sharply in front of the house. Didn't even fully stop before the passenger door swung open. Get in. I didn't hesitate. Didn't question. Didn't argue. I got in. The door slammed shut behind me. And just like that, we were moving again. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Just the sound of the engine. The road. My own breathing trying to catch up. I stared straight ahead. Didn't look at him. Didn't want to. Because if I did, this became real in a different way. You okay? He asked finally. I laughed. A short, broken sound. Do I sound okay? You're alive? Great. Amazing standard. A pause. Then, I'm sorry. There it was. Finally. I turned my head slowly. Looked at him. Really looked this time. Same face. Same person. But not the same. Something had shifted. Or maybe, I just saw it differently now. You don't get to start with that, I said. I'm not starting with it, he said. I'm acknowledging it. That's not the same thing. I know. Silence. The car sped up slightly as he turned onto a main road. Street lights flashed past. One after another. Too fast. Too bright. Too much. You knew, I said finally. He didn't pretend not to understand. Yes. You knew something like that could happen. Yes. And you still didn't tell me. A pause. Then, yes. I nodded slowly. Looked away again. Okay. That word again. Different every time. What does that mean? He asked. It means I'm processing how insane this is, I said. Give me a second. He didn't respond. Didn't push. That was new. I rested my head back against the seat. Closed my eyes for just a second. Then opened them again. Start talking, I said. I am talking. No, I said. You're reacting. I want the full version. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel slightly. You're not going to like it. I let out a breath. I didn't like the part where I jumped out of a second-story window either. We're past that. A pause. Then, this started 3 years ago, he said. Daniel, I said. Yes. I nodded once. Okay. Go. You met him at that conference. You worked with him for a short time, but it wasn't important, I finished. It was to him. I frowned. Why? He targeted you. The word landed wrong. Too intentional. Targeted me how? For access. To what? To accounts. Networks. Financial pathways. I stared at him. That doesn't make sense. I didn't give him anything. You didn't have to. That's not an answer. It is, he said. Just not one you like. Try me. A pause. Then, he used proximity, Ethan said. Short-term collaboration, shared systems, overlapping credentials, things that don't look like anything at the time. My stomach tightened. You're saying he used me without me knowing? Yes. I shook my head. No. That's not how that works. It is if you know what you're doing. And you do? I shot back. Silence. Then, yes. That answer hit differently. Since when? Another pause. Then, since before I met you. I turned to him sharply. What does that mean? It means, he said carefully, my job isn't what you think it is. I let out a short laugh. Wow. Okay. Great. We're doing this now. I didn't want to. You didn't want to? I repeated. You didn't want to tell your wife what you actually do for a living. I wanted to keep you out of it. There it is again, I said. That line. You keep using it like it justifies everything. It explains it. It doesn't excuse it. No, he said quietly. It doesn't. Silence settled between us again. He turned onto another road. Darker now. Less traffic. More isolated. Where are we going? I asked. Somewhere safe. I almost laughed. Everyone loves that phrase tonight. It matters. Yeah, I said. So far, it hasn't meant much. Another pause. Then, there are people who do what Daniel does, Ethan said. They build systems. Fake identities. Financial trails. And they picked me. Yes. Why? That's the part we're still trying to figure out. We. Again. Always we. Claire, I said. Yes. I nodded slowly. Of course. She's been helping me track this. Helping you lie to me, I corrected. He didn't argue. That too, he said. That honesty, again, hit harder than a lie. I looked out the window. City lights passing by. Blurring. Distant. I trusted both of you, I said quietly. No one answered. Because there was no answer to that. Not a good one. After a moment, I spoke again. So what now? We keep you safe, he said. And then we figure out how to prove this isn't you. I let out a slow breath. And if you're wrong, he didn't hesitate. I'm not. I turned to him again. Studied his face. The certainty. The focus. The complete lack of doubt. You sound very sure, I said. I am. Funny, I replied softly. You weren't earlier. That landed. I saw it. A flicker. Small. But real. I told you, he said, I had to consider every possibility. Yeah, I said. Including me. Silence. Then, yes. I nodded. Again. Slow. Measured. Letting it settle. Letting it sink in fully this time. Okay, I said. That word again. Final this time. Different. Not movement. Not processing. Acceptance. But not the kind he wanted. What does that mean? He asked. I looked straight ahead. Didn't look at him. Didn't soften it. It means I believe you. A pause. Then, good, he said. I shook my head slightly. You shouldn't be relieved. He frowned. Why? Because belief wasn't the same as trust. And whatever we had before tonight was already gone. I believe the situation, I said. Then, quieter, but I don't believe you. The car slowed. Then turned. Then finally, stopped. I didn't ask where we were. Didn't care. Because at this point, safe had lost all meaning. Ethan killed the engine. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he said, we're here. I looked out the window. A parking structure. Concrete. Dim lighting. Almost empty. Very comforting, I muttered. He didn't respond. Just got out of the car. Walked around to my side. Opened the door. I stared at him for a second before moving. Not because I needed help. Because I wasn't sure what we were now. He stepped back slightly, giving me space. Good. I needed that. My ankle protested as I stepped out. Not as bad as before. Still there. Still real. Just like everything else. Can you walk? He asked. Yes. Short. Flat. No room for concern. He nodded. Didn't push. We moved toward the elevator in silence. The kind that wasn't empty anymore. Just, unresolved. Inside the elevator, the reflection caught us again. Side by side. Close. But not together. Not even a little. You're bleeding, he said. I glanced down. My arm. A thin line of red I hadn't noticed before. Great, I said. Add it to the list. You should, I'm fine. He stopped. Again. Learning. Too late. The elevator opened. We stepped out into a quiet hallway. Apartment style. Private. Controlled. He walked ahead this time. I followed. Not because I trusted him. Because I didn't have a better option. He stopped in front of a door. Knocked twice. A pause. Then, the door opened. And there she was. Claire. Standing there like she'd been expecting us. Of course she had. Her eyes went straight to me. Quick scan. Assessing. You're hurt. I'm fine, I said immediately. Same answer. Same tone. She didn't argue. Didn't apologize. Didn't explain. Come in. I hesitated. Just for a second. Then stepped inside. The apartment was minimal. Clean. Temporary. No personal touches. No signs of someone actually living there. Safe house, I muttered. Claire glanced at Ethan. Then back at me. Something like that. Of course. Another non-answer. I walked further in, setting the box down on a small table without ceremony. It made a soft sound. Too normal for what it was. That almost got me killed, I said. Claire's expression tightened slightly. It wasn't supposed to be there yet. Yeah, he said that, I replied, jerking my head toward Ethan. You want to explain what that means? Silence. A look passed between them. Quick. Subtle. But there. I saw it. Always saw it. There are multiple layers to this, Claire said finally. I let out a quiet laugh. Of course there are. Sophia, no, I cut in. We're not doing that thing where you talk around it. I'm not talking around it. You are. I'm trying to give you what you need without what? I snapped. Without telling me the truth, her jaw tightened. That's not fair. There it is again, I said. You all really love that phrase. Ethan stepped in slightly. Let her talk. I turned on him immediately. No. You don't get to moderate this. He stopped. Good. Claire took a breath. Then, Daniel Reeves runs a financial network, she said. Direct. Finally. Not softened. Not vague. I folded my arms. Define network. Shell accounts. Identity layering. Money movement through legitimate fronts. I nodded slowly. Okay. So, criminal. Yes. And I'm, what? A scapegoat, more than that. I went still. What does that mean? Another pause. Then, you're part of the system. The words landed heavy. Wrong. Completely wrong. No, I said immediately. I'm not. You are on paper. That's not the same thing. No, she said. It's worse. I frowned. How is that worse? Because it means everything traces back to you. Silence. That kind of silence. The kind that actually sinks in. I looked at the box again. At the papers I hadn't even fully gone through. At some point, Claire continued, your identity was inserted into the structure. Without me knowing. Yes. I shook my head. That's insane. It's precise. That's not better. No, she said quietly. It's not. I exhaled slowly. Trying to keep up. Trying to stay ahead of the panic that kept threatening to break through. Okay, I said. Let's say I believe that. You don't, she said. I don't, I agreed. But let's pretend. Again. A flicker of something crossed her face. Almost respect. Gone too fast to confirm. Then what? I asked. What's the endgame? They build a case. Against me. Yes. And then, they shut it down. I frowned. That doesn't make sense. It does if you're cleaning a trail. Something clicked. Small. Sharp. They're going to burn me, I said. Claire didn't answer. That was the answer. I let out a slow breath. Wow. No sarcasm this time. Just processing. Wow. Ethan stepped closer. We're not going to let that happen. I turned to him. Looked him straight in the eye. You already did. That hit hard. He didn't deny it. Didn't defend himself. Just stood there. Which was worse. So what now? I asked, turning back to Claire. We stop it. How? We find Daniel. I let out a short laugh. Great plan. Very specific. He's already moving, Ethan said. Yeah, I replied. I noticed. He sent someone to my house. Claire nodded slightly. That means we're out of time. Good to know, I said dryly. Love a deadline. Silence settled again. Heavier this time. More real. More permanent. I looked between them. At the two people who, 12 hours ago, were my entire support system. And now, I have one question, I said. They both looked at me. Waiting. Good. Let them. I held their gaze. Didn't soften it. Didn't hesitate. When were you going to tell me? Silence. Not a second. Not two. Longer. Too long. Claire answered first. When we had proof. I nodded slowly. And if I never found that box, another pause. Then, you wouldn't have been involved. I let out a quiet breath. There it is. The truth. Simple. Clean. Devastating. You made the decision for me, I said. Yes. No apology. No hesitation. Just, yes. I nodded again. Something inside me settling into place. Not comfort. Not acceptance. Just, clarity. Okay, I said. That word again. Final again. Different again. What does that mean? Ethan asked. I looked at him. Then at Claire. Then back at the box. It means, I said, I'm in this now. A pause. Then, good, Claire said. I shook my head slightly. You shouldn't be relieved. Same line. Different person. Same meaning. Why? She asked. Because being in wasn't the same as being with them. And whatever we were before was gone. I'm helping because I don't have a choice, I said. Then, quieter, but don't mistake that for trust. I didn't sleep. Not really. I lay on the couch in the safe house apartment, staring at the ceiling while the world quietly rearranged itself into something I didn't recognize anymore. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the same things: the closet, the box, my name, and the door opening behind me. I exhaled slowly. Yeah, I muttered to myself. Sleeping is overrated. A soft sound came from the other side of the room. Papers shifting. Claire. Of course. I pushed myself up slightly, turning my head. She was at the table, going through the documents again. Focused. Precise. Like none of this was personal. Like this was just work. You ever stop? I asked. She didn't look up. No. Healthy. It's effective. I let out a quiet breath. Must be nice. That got her attention. She looked up. Studied me for a second. Then, you should rest. I almost laughed. You should try honesty sometime. A pause. Then she went back to the papers. Rest helps you think. So does knowing what's actually going on, I said. No response. Of course. I swung my legs off the couch, wincing slightly as my ankle reminded me it still existed. Great, I muttered. Still broken. It's not broken, Claire said without looking up. You'd know. Good to know we're adding medical expertise to your list of secrets. That landed. Barely. But I saw it. A flicker. Gone quickly. Ethan stepped out of the other room then. Phone in hand. Already dressed. Already working. Of course. He glanced at me. Quick. Checking. You okay? He asked. I met his eyes. Held them. Long enough to make the point. I'm alive, I said. Same answer as before. Same meaning. Different now. He nodded once. Didn't push. Good. We were learning each other again. From scratch. What do we have? I asked, shifting my attention to the table. Claire slid a few papers toward me. Patterns. I walked over. Looked down. Numbers. Dates. Transfers. Same as before. But now, I looked differently. Not as a victim. As someone trying to understand. Walk me through it, I said. Claire tapped one column. These are the flagged transactions. Flagged by who? Us. I glanced at Ethan. Us, I repeated. He didn't react. Didn't explain. Just let it sit there. Of course he did. Amounts increase over time, Claire continued. Small at first. Then larger. More frequent. Building a trail, I said. She looked at me again. A little sharper this time. Yes. I nodded. Not random. No. Structured. Yes. I exhaled slowly. Okay. I pointed to another line. This account, this one shows up a lot. Claire leaned in slightly. That's one of the primary nodes. English, I said. She didn't smile. It's a central account used to move funds between identities. Mine included. Yes. I swallowed. That still didn't feel real. And Daniel? I asked. Ethan stepped closer. That account traces back to him. Directly, no, he said. But consistently. Meaning he built it. I nodded slowly. Okay. Everything felt too calm, too logical. Like if I focused on the structure, I didn't have to think about what it meant for me. For us, a voice in my head added. I ignored it. What's the timeline? I asked. Claire flipped to another page. Starts 3 years ago. After the conference. Yes. Of course it does, I muttered. I leaned back slightly, crossing my arms. Okay. So he meets me. Uses me somehow. Builds this whole thing around my identity. Yes. And then waits. Yes. Why? Silence. Of course. Always that missing piece. That's the question, Ethan said. I looked at him. Studied his face. Still composed. Still controlled. Still, holding something back. You keep saying that, I said. Like it's the only unknown. It's the biggest one. No, I said. It's not. A pause. Then, what do you mean? Claire asked. I held her gaze. Then shifted it to Ethan. The biggest unknown, I said slowly, is how you got involved. Silence dropped. Heavier than before. More personal. Good. Let it be. You didn't just stumble into this, I continued. You said you've been tracking him. Yes. For how long? A pause. Then, a while. I laughed. Define a while. Another pause. Then, before you met him. That hit. Hard. You were already watching him, I said. Yes. And then I met him. Yes. And you didn't tell me. No. I nodded slowly. Again. Letting it settle. Letting it sink in properly this time. So this isn't just about him using me, I said. No, Ethan admitted. It's not. It's about you letting it happen. Silence. He didn't deny it. Didn't deflect. Didn't correct me. Which meant, I was right. Wow, I said softly. Not angry. Not loud. Just, clear. That's the betrayal, I continued. Not the hotel. Not the lie. I shook my head slightly. You knew I was connected to this. And you let me walk into it. I didn't know it would go this far. But you knew enough, I said. Yes. The honesty landed again. Sharp. Clean. Irreversible. I let out a slow breath. Okay. That word again. Final again. Different again. Claire watched both of us carefully. Not interrupting. Not stepping in. Smart. Say it, I said, looking at Ethan. Say what? The part you're not saying? A pause. Then, I made a call, he said. There it was. I nodded. Yeah, I said. You did. And it was the wrong one. I held his gaze. For a long second. Then, yes, I said. No hesitation. No softening. Just, yes. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Permanent. You should have told me, I said. I know. You should have trusted me. I know. You didn't. No. I nodded again. That familiar motion. That steady acceptance of something that couldn't be undone. Okay, I said. And this time, it didn't mean movement. It didn't mean processing. It meant closure. Not of the situation. Of something else. Something quieter. More important. Okay, I repeated. Then I looked down at the papers again. At the numbers. At the system built around my name. and forced my voice back into something steady. Then we fix it. Claire leaned forward slightly. How? I didn't look at her. Didn't look at Ethan. Just at the evidence. At the structure. At the problem. We find where it breaks, I said. A pause. Then, Ethan asked, quietly, and if it doesn't? I finally looked up. Met his eyes. Held them. Long enough to make sure he understood. Then we burn it down. End of chapter 5. Chapter 6. White right pointing backhand index. Sophia White right pointing backhand index. Daniel Sophia White right pointing backhand index. White right pointing backhand index. B. Chapter 6. Chapter 6. The man behind it. White right pointing backhand index. Daniel Sophia White right pointing backhand index. White right pointing backhand index. Sophia. B. Chapter 6. The man behind it. Part 1. By morning, I stopped feeling like the same person. Not dramatically. Not all at once. Just, quietly. Like something had shifted overnight and didn't bother asking for permission. I wasn't thinking about Ethan. Or Claire. Or even the house. Not first. I was thinking about patterns. Connections. Gaps. What if it's not about money? The words came out before I realized I was speaking. Claire looked up immediately. Ethan followed a second later. What do you mean? He asked. I leaned forward slightly, tapping one of the pages. These transactions, yeah, they are big. But they are also visible. Claire frowned. Explain. If you're building something illegal, I said, you don't make it easy to trace. You hide it, Ethan added. Exactly, I said. But this, I gestured to the documents. This wants to be found. Silence. A different kind this time. Not confusion. Recognition. Claire straightened slightly. That would mean, it's not the goal, I finished. It's the cover. Ethan's expression shifted. Subtle. But real. For what? He asked. I met his eyes. Held them. For something worse. The room went still. Completely. And for the first time since this started, I saw it. Not control. Not certainty. But uncertainty. In him. Good. Now we were even. It didn't take long after that. Not as long as I expected. Because once the idea was there, everything else started aligning around it. The timing, Claire said, flipping through pages. Escalation happens right before. She stopped. I watched her. Before what? She didn't answer. Ethan did. Audit cycles. I turned to him. What? Large-scale financial audits, he said. Corporate. Government. International. And if your name is tied to something like this, it surfaces, I finished. Yes. And I take the fall. Yes. I nodded slowly. But that's still just money. Ethan shook his head. No, he said. It's access. That word again. Access. Same as before. Different now. Access to what? I asked. Neither of them answered right away. Which meant, this mattered. A lot. Say it, I said. Claire hesitated. Ethan didn't. Restricted systems, he said. I stared at him. Define restricted. Another pause. Then, government-level financial infrastructure. The words landed heavy. Too heavy. No, I said immediately. No, that's not possible. It is if your identity is clean, he said. And mine was, Claire corrected quietly. That word hit. Past tense. Meaning once this triggers, she said, you're no longer just a suspect. I held her gaze. Then what am I? A pause. Then, the entry point. Silence. Complete. Absolute. I let out a slow breath. Wow, I said softly. No sarcasm. No anger. Just clarity. So I'm not just being framed, I said. No, Ethan replied. You're being used to open a door. The phone rang. All three of us froze. Not because phones were unusual. Because this one wasn't. It wasn't mine. It wasn't Ethan's. It wasn't Claire's. It was sitting on the table. Next to the box. A phone that hadn't been there before. My pulse spiked instantly. Did either of you? No, Claire said. Ethan was already moving. Slow. Careful. Eyes locked on it. The phone kept ringing. Steady. Patient. Like whoever was calling knew we would answer. Don't, Claire said quietly. Ethan stopped. Looked at her. Then at me. Then back at the phone. Still ringing. Still waiting. I stepped forward. Give it to me. Both of them turned to me. No, Ethan said immediately. Yes, I said. It could be, it is, I cut in. That's the point. Silence. A beat. Then, he stepped back. Letting me move. Good. I reached for the phone. Picked it up. The screen lit up. No caller ID. Of course. I didn't hesitate. I answered. Hello, a pause. Then, a voice. Calm. Measured. Familiar in a way that made my stomach drop. Good morning, Sophia. I closed my eyes for just a second, then opened them again. Daniel. Not a question. A statement. A confirmation. A quiet inhale on the other end. Impressive, he said. You figured that out faster than expected. I leaned back slightly against the table, trying to keep my voice steady. Yeah, I said. Well, you made it pretty obvious. A soft chuckle. Not amused. Not mocking. Just, controlled. I never make anything obvious, he said. That's funny, I replied. Because your name is all over my life right now. Only the parts one want you to see. My grip tightened slightly on the phone. Then let's skip the part where you pretend this is clever, I said. What do you want? A pause. Then, you. The word landed clean. Cold. Expected. But still, unsettling. I'm not interested, I said. I know. Then why are we talking? Because you're already involved. I let out a quiet breath. Yeah, I noticed. Another small pause. Then, you weren't supposed to find out this way. I almost laughed. What? Through the evidence you planted in my house? Yes. Very subtle. I adjusted, he said. That word stuck. Adjusted. Meaning, things had changed. Because of me. Because I didn't react the way he expected. Why me? I asked. No hesitation this time. Because you were perfect. I went still. What does that mean? Clean history. Intelligent. Positioned correctly. Trust relationships in the right places. My jaw tightened. Say it clearly. You were useful. The honesty hit harder than anything else. Because there was no manipulation in it. No attempt to soften. Just, truth. Cold. Direct. I glanced briefly at Ethan. At Claire. Both watching. Listening. Tense. Good. Let them hear it. You built all of this, I said, just to use me. No, he said. I built all of this because you existed. Silence. That line stayed. Longer than it should have. What happens next? I asked. Another pause. Then, that depends on you. I let out a breath. Of course it does. You can walk away, he said. I almost laughed. Yeah? How? By doing nothing. I frowned. That doesn't sound like walking away. It is, he said. You let the system run. You let the process complete. And I go to prison. Possibly. Possibly, you might disappear before that. The words landed heavy. Not a threat. Not quite. Worse. A probability. And if I don't walk away? I asked. Silence. Then, his voice dropped slightly. Not louder. Just, sharper. Then you become a problem. I smiled slightly. Didn't mean to. Didn't feel it. Just, did it. Too late, I said. Another pause. Then, yes, he said. I suppose it is. The line went dead. Silence filled the room again. But this time, it was different. Not confusion. Not fear. Something else. Something clearer. I set the phone down slowly. Looked at Ethan. Then at Claire. Then back at the table. At least now we're all on the same page, I said. Ethan stepped closer. What are you thinking? I didn't hesitate. Not this time. Not anymore. I'm thinking, I said, he just made a mistake. Claire frowned. What kind of mistake? I met her eyes. Calm. Certain. The kind where he assumes I'm still the same person I was yesterday. End of chapter 6. Chapter 7. White right pointing backhand index. Sophia White right pointing backhand index. Daniel versus Sophia White right pointing backhand index. Ethan Sophia White right pointing backhand index. B. Chapter 8. Chapter 7. Becoming him. White right pointing backhand index Sophia Daniel white right pointing backhand index white right pointing backhand index Ethan white right pointing backhand index B Chapter 7, Becoming Him, Part 1, Something about his voice stayed with me. Not the words. Not the threat. The structure. Clean. Precise. Controlled. No wasted emotion. No unnecessary detail. Just intent. I stood there for a long moment after the call ended, staring at the phone like it might ring again. It didn't. Of course it didn't. People like Daniel didn't repeat themselves. You're thinking, Claire said. I didn't look at her. Yeah. What? I exhaled slowly. He's not hiding, I said. Ethan frowned. He's always hiding. No, I said. He's controlling visibility. That got both of their attention. I leaned forward slightly, tapping the phone. He called us. Not me. Us. Claire's eyes narrowed. That phone wasn't here before. Exactly, I said. Which means he placed it. Ethan's expression shifted. When? I shrugged slightly. Doesn't matter. What matters is, he wanted us to find it. Why? Claire asked. I looked at her. Same reason he built the financial trail, I said. To direct us. Silence. Recognition again. Slow. Sharp. So everything we're seeing, Ethan started, is what he wants us to see, I finished. I straightened slightly. And everything we're not seeing, Claire answered this time, is where he actually is. I nodded once. Yeah. We didn't move for a while after that. Not physically. Just thinking. Processing. Adjusting. Because the rules had changed. Or maybe, we were finally seeing them. He said I could walk away, I said. Ethan looked at me immediately. That's not real. I know, I said. But it's important. Why? Because it tells us something. Claire tilted her head slightly. What? I met her eyes. He still thinks I'm predictable. A pause. Then, that's good, Ethan said. I shook my head. No, I said. That's useful. There was a difference. And we all heard it. The next hour blurred into movement. Not panic. Not chaos. Just focus. We mapped everything out again. From the beginning. Not what we thought we knew. What we could prove. Daniel's contact points. The financial structure. The escalation timeline. The audit window. Everything. But this time, we weren't reacting. We were choosing. Where does it break? Claire asked again. Same question. Different weight now. I stared at the layout. At the connections. At the flow. Then, I saw it. Not obvious. Not clean. But there. A gap. Small. Almost invisible. This, I said, pointing. Ethan leaned in. That's just a relay. No, I said. It's not. Claire frowned. Why? Because it's inefficient. They both looked at me. I tapped the page again. Everything else here is optimized, I said. Fast. Clean. Minimal exposure. And this isn't, Ethan said slowly. No. Why would he leave that? I met his eyes. He wouldn't. Silence. Then, you're saying, Claire started. I'm saying it's not his, I finished. The room shifted again. That subtle, quiet shift. The one that meant, we were getting closer. Someone else is in the system, Ethan said. Yes. Working with him, I shook my head. No. Claire's voice dropped slightly. Then what? I leaned back. Let the thought settle fully before saying it. A mistake, I said. But what? Ethan asked. A human one. Silence. Then, you think someone else is interfering, Claire said. Yes. Why? I exhaled slowly. Because perfection doesn't leave inefficiencies, I said. People do. Ethan straightened slightly. So we don't just have Daniel. No, I said. We have someone else inside his system. And they messed up. I nodded. Yeah. A pause. Then, that's our entry point, Claire said. I smiled slightly. Exactly. Later, when things finally slowed, just a little, I stepped away. Out onto the balcony. Needed air. Needed space. Needed distance. The city stretched out in front of me. Lights. Movement. Life going on like none of this existed. I rested my hands on the railing. Closed my eyes for a second. then opened them again. You're different. Ethan's voice. Behind me. Of course. I didn't turn. Yeah. A pause. Then he stepped closer. Not too close. He'd learned that. What changed? He asked. I let out a quiet breath. Clarity. That's not all. No, I said. It's not. Silence settled between us. Not tense. Not emotional. Just real. You handled that call, he said. Better than I expected. I almost smiled. Lower your expectations. I'm serious. I know. Another pause. Then, you're thinking like him, he said. There it was. The thing we were both avoiding. I didn't deny it. I have to. At what cost? That made me turn. Slowly. Look at him. Really look. You already know the answer to that, I said. His jaw tightened slightly. Say it. I held his gaze. Didn't soften. Didn't hesitate. Us. Silence. Heavy. Final. That's not, he started. It is, I said. You just don't want it to be. I made a mistake, he said. Yes. I'm trying to fix it. I know. Then why? Because fixing the situation doesn't fix what you did, I said. The words landed clean. No anger. No emotion. Just truth. And you know that, I added. He didn't respond. Because he couldn't. Because there was nothing to say. I turned back to the city. Let the silence settle. Then, quietly, I'm not the same person you married, I said. A pause. Then, I know. I nodded slightly. Good. At least we agreed on something. By the time we moved, there was no hesitation left. Not in me. Not anymore. Walk me through it again, Ethan said. We were in the car. Different one this time. Cleaner. Untraceable, according to him. I didn't ask how. Didn't care. Claire sat in the back, laptop open, eyes moving fast over lines of data I couldn't see. I focused on what mattered. The weak point is the relay, I said. The one that doesn't fit. Ethan nodded slightly. And you're sure it's not his? Yes. Why? Because it's inefficient, I repeated. And he doesn't do inefficient. Claire spoke without looking up. I've cross-checked it. The routing pattern is inconsistent with everything else. Meaning? Ethan asked. It was inserted later, she said. Or by someone else. I nodded. Which means it's vulnerable. And you want to use it, Ethan said. Yes. A pause. Then, that's a risk. I looked at him. Everything is a risk. This one puts you directly in his line of sight. I'm already there. Silence. He didn't argue. Because he couldn't. Because it was true. The location wasn't what I expected. Not some underground facility. Not hidden. Just a building. Office style. Glass. Steel. Ordinary. That's him? I asked. Claire nodded slightly. One of his active nodes. Of course it is, I muttered. Nothing about this man was dramatic. That was the problem. Everything blended. Everything worked. Everything fit. We parked across the street. Engine off. Time stretching. You don't have to do this, Ethan said. I didn't look at him. Yes, I do. We can find another way. No, I said. We can't. A pause. Then, I should go in, he said. That made me turn. No. I'm trained for this. And he's expecting you. He might be expecting you too. I shook my head. No, I said. He's expecting the version of me he built. Silence. Then, I'm not that anymore. Claire spoke this time. She's right. We both looked at her. He underestimates her, she said. That's the only advantage we have. Ethan's jaw tightened. He didn't like it. Didn't have to. It was still true. Inside, everything was quiet. Too quiet. Reception empty. Lights on. No movement. I walked in alone. Didn't look back. Didn't hesitate. Didn't feel. That was the difference. That was what had changed. Sophia. His voice. Before I even saw him. Of course. I turned. And there he was. Daniel. Exactly how I remembered. Same calm posture. Same controlled expression. Like nothing had changed. Like this was just another meeting. You came, he said. I didn't have much of a choice, I replied. A faint smile. Everyone has a choice. Not when you take them away. He tilted his head slightly. Did I? I didn't answer. Didn't engage. Not that game. Not his pace. You made a mistake, I said. That got his attention. Subtle. But real. I don't make mistakes, he said. Not usually, I agreed. But this time, you did. Silence. Then, go on. I stepped closer. Slow. Measured. Mirroring him. The relay, I said. It doesn't belong. A pause. Then, no, he said. It doesn't. That answer wasn't denial. It was confirmation. I felt something click into place. Clean. Sharp. You saw it, he added. Yes. And you followed it. Yes. A small nod. Almost approving. And now you're here. Yes. Silence. Then, you've adapted, he said. I had to. At a cost. I held his gaze. Everything has a cost. A faint smile again. Good, he said. You understand. I didn't react. Didn't accept. Didn't reject. Just, continued. The relay leads to someone else, I said. Yes. Not working with you. No. Interfering. Yes. Each answer clean. Direct. No hesitation. No lies. That was the unsettling part. You didn't stop them, I said. No. Why? A pause. Then, I was curious. The word landed wrong. Too simple. Too casual. About what? About you. Silence. I didn't move. Didn't react. Didn't give him anything. You weren't supposed to see that, he continued. Not yet. But I did? Yes. And now I'm a problem. A slight tilt of his head. You always were. That was honest. And somehow worse. Then why am I still standing here? I asked. A pause. Then, because you're useful. Again. That word. I almost smiled. Didn't mean to. But I did? Not anymore, I said. Silence. Then, explain. I stepped closer. Just one step. Enough. Because I'm not following your system anymore, I said. I'm breaking it. His eyes sharpened. Just slightly. There's a difference, I added, between being part of a structure and understanding it. A pause. Then, and you believe you understand it now, yes. Silence stretched. Longer this time. More measured. More real. Then, prove it. That was it. The moment. The choice. I pulled the drive from my pocket. Small. Simple. Everything we had built. Everything we had found. Everything that could expose him, or destroy me. Here's what's going to happen, I said. His eyes dropped briefly to the drive. Then back to me. Listening. Of course he was. You let this go, I said. You shut it down. You walk away from my identity completely. And if I don't, I held his gaze. Didn't blink. Then I burn everything, I said. Including myself. Silence. Heavy. Real. Not a bluff. He could see that. That was the point. You'd destroy your own life, he said. Yes. For what? I didn't hesitate. Because it's mine. That landed. I saw it. Not shock. Not fear. But, recognition. Finally. You're not useful anymore, I said quietly. Another pause. Then, no, he said. Not denial. Agreement. And just like that, the balance shifted. Chapter 8, The Choice, Final Part, B ending. It ended quietly. That was the strange part. No fight. No chaos. No dramatic collapse. Just, decisions. He took the drive. Not forcefully. Not reluctantly. Just, accepted it. Walk away, I said. He studied me for a long second. Then, you've changed, he said. Yes. At a cost. I didn't answer. Didn't need to. He nodded once. Then turned. And left. Just like that. Outside, the air felt different. Not lighter. Not better. Just, still. Ethan was the first to reach me. Are you okay? I looked at him. Really looked. And for the first time, I didn't see my husband. I saw someone I had survived something with. That depends, I said. On what? I exhaled slowly. On what happens next. Claire joined us. What did he say? She asked. That it's over, I said. Do you believe him? I thought about it. For a second. Then, yes. They both looked surprised. Why? Ethan asked. Because I'm not useful anymore. Silence. Then, that's a good thing, Claire said. I nodded slightly. Yeah. It was. Objectively. Logically. It was. Days passed. Then weeks. No arrests. No charges. No headlines. The system, quietly, reset. Like none of it had ever happened. Like I had never been part of it. Like he had never chosen me. I stood in the apartment one last time. Box gone. Papers gone. Everything gone. Clean. Empty. Safe. Where will you go? Claire asked. Somewhere else, I said. She nodded. Didn't ask more. She understood that much. Ethan stood by the door. Waiting. Of course he was. I can come with you, he said. I looked at him. For a long second. Then, no. The word landed softly, but final. Sophia, no, I repeated. A pause. Then, is this because of what happened? I almost smiled. Not amused. Just, tired. It's because of everything that didn't happen, I said. He frowned. You'll have to explain that. I shook my head. No, I said. I don't. Silence. Then, you said you believed me. I do. Then why? Because belief isn't trust, I said. The words came out calm, clear, unshaken. And I can't live in something without that. He didn't respond. Couldn't. Because he already knew. Because we both did. I picked up my bag. Walked to the door. Paused. Just for a second. Then, I'm not angry, I said. He looked at me. Hope. Still there. Still trying. That was the hardest part. I just don't belong here anymore. Silence. Then, I understand, he said. I nodded. Good. At least one of us did. I left without looking back. Not because it would hurt. Because it wouldn't change anything. I didn't lose everything. Just the part of my life I once thought was unbreakable. And somehow, that was the only part that mattered.